CrowdStrike's recent software bug impacting 8.5 million Windows systems globally has been traced back to unnoticed bugs in their own testing infrastructure, a flaw that slipped through the cracks and led to one of the most historic IT outages of all time. How can companies improve their testing processes to avoid this type of failure? A major cybersecurity company, KnowBe4, accidentally hired a North Korean hacker who was posing as a principal software engineer. What tactics did this North Korean threat actor use to convince the hiring director to give him this IT job? Google is rolling out a AI-powered two-tier warning system in Google Chrome when it suspects you're downloading a risky file. What does this mean, and how will it protect Chrome users? You're listening to the Daily Decrypt. Before we get into the news, just wanted to remind y'all, head to our website and subscribe to the newsletter. It's the perfect companion to listening to your daily news. You'll get all the links and brief synopsis delivered right to your inbox alongside these episodes. You can check that out at news.thedailydecrypt.com. And if you haven't already, there are now video episodes on YouTube, which should be linked in the show notes below. If you want to come see my cool new Govee light setup and my Lego International Space Station, make sure you go check that out. But let's get into the episode, all right? The week is almost over. It's almost been a full 7 days since CrowdStrike pushed their legendary update that took down half of the world. And some new information is surfacing about how the QA and the testing has failed. And in case you've been living under a rock, last Friday, CrowdStrike pushed an update that caused a global IT crash, leading to the blue screens of death for 8.5 million Windows systems. This took place during a rapid response content update where CrowdStrike missed a critical error in their testing process. They released 2 new inter-process communication, or IPC templates, without detecting defective content. And all this essentially means is their testing infrastructure had a bug, which is pretty obvious and honestly kind of expected. Because if you've ever worked in a startup environment, especially a startup in cybersecurity, they're trying to get the wheels turning faster than they probably should. And they do that by developing products and services and then thinking about testing later. And sometimes things are very hard to test based on the way they were implemented in the first place, which was rushed, right? And it would just cost a lot of money, like so much money, to go back and retroactively fix things so that they're easier to test. So the tests are built around the broken infrastructure. That's just how startups are working nowadays. It's really unfortunate, and there's not much we can do about it. And this is just one of the many consequences that can come from that. So what is CrowdStrike going to do to help prevent this in the future? They're going to add more validation tests, use more of a staggered deployment strategy, improve their live monitoring of the updates, as well as give customers a little better control over how the updates are rolled out. And the specific tiered approach they're going to use is called dog fooding, which is a cool term I had actually never heard, but it's a term in software development that involves testing a product internally before conducting these larger rollouts. And after seeing the effects of this update, looking back on it, this is an obvious testing strategy. It seems like they could have just pushed this update to a Windows machine in their own environment to see what would happen. But there is a sort of urgency in cybersecurity to get these detections out there to protect as many people as soon as possible. They might not need to fully test the update's efficacy on an endpoint in their own environment, but at least they need to push it to a system and see if the system still works. That being said, I really appreciate CrowdStrike's response to this. From the start, they were very transparent with the cause, the effects, and the fixes, and they're taking it very seriously, as they should. So I really hope, they stay in business because it's a great product. All right, this next story is wild, and it's a hiring manager's worst nightmare, right? So there's a company called KnowBe4, which is a major cybersecurity company, and they accidentally hired a North Korean hacker. This hacker was posing as a principal software engineer and tried to install Infostealer malware on the devices for that company. KnowBe4 caught it just in time before any data was stolen, but this shows how sneaky North Korean cyber actors can be. They use stolen identities and artificial intelligence to mask their true selves and infiltrate companies. In fact, the FBI's been warning about this since last year. And there's only so much hiring managers can do, especially with remote work and artificial intelligence and deep fakes and being able to buy fake identities on the internet. What can you do, right? Well, it comes down to just adding a few more safeguards. Maybe increasing the onboarding time and not allowing access to internal resources until onboarding is complete. Also, if you're in the supply chain for hiring, like if you're in HR, you're in IT, setting up resources for new hires, or you're a hiring manager, look out for inconsistencies. Look out for suspicious behaviors. If you're looking at like shipping addresses or background checks or anything like that, just look out for inconsistencies in spelling or capitalization, anything that might throw up a red flag, and then probe that new hire about those questions. You know, if you can increase your FaceTime with that new hire, you're also likely to catch these inconsistencies. And as always, it's really important to just establish a culture of reporting things to IT, even if you're not sure. No one wants to report their new coworker for being weird and suspicious, but talk about what can happen in situations like this. If someone makes it through the cracks and is actually a foreign adversary within your own ranks, it can be bad. So establishing that culture can go a long way. And finally, Google Chrome may not be getting rid of third-party cookies like they promised. See yesterday's episode for more information on that. But they're trying to win back our hearts and minds by using AI to help detect malicious downloads. Google recently rolled out a 2-tiered warning system for downloads. It uses AI from safe browsing to flag suspicious and dangerous files. So, next time you download a shady file, you'll see clear warnings with distinct icons, colors, and texts that will help bring your attention to this file so that you can think critically about actually going through with the download. The main goal with this is to help users more effectively identify malicious downloads. Chrome already provides warnings for things they think might be malicious, but they've become almost too commonplace with alert fatigue, and they often get bypassed. But testing groups for this new feature have shown that users are paying more attention in this approach. What I find interesting about this approach, though, is if the file is password protected, Google will prompt you for that password. Then they will take that password and the file itself and send it to Google's servers and analyze it for malware. Sounds great, but I know a lot of people personally that will not be comfortable either themselves entering passwords into Google or allowing their employees to enter these passwords into Google, especially with Google using AI to analyze these files. The information in these files is probably susceptible to AI's prying eyes, right? So I'm interested to see how this plays out and if users will actually enter the passwords for their protected files. Google also claims that they will immediately delete your passwords and files from the server once analyzed. I'll believe it when I see it.
This has been the Daily Decrypt. If you found your key to unlocking the digital domain, show your support with a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It truly helps us stand at the frontier of cyber news. Don't forget to connect on Instagram or catch our episodes on YouTube. Until next time, keep your data safe and your curiosity alive.